Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to Supporting Women's Health Through Nutrition as a part of Pinellas County Wellness Department's Women's Health Week observation in Women's Health Month of May. I'm really glad that you're here. If we haven't yet met, my name is Shannon Parks. I'm your on-site coach with UMR, and I'm a registered dietitian nutrition professional. I'm really excited to jump into today's content with you. Before we get started, a simple disclosure that all information contained in today's presentation is for informational and educational purposes only and is not to be used as medical advice. Please consult your in-network physician for any specific medical questions or information that you might be looking for. That being said, let's go ahead and dive on in. So, we're going to cover quite a bit today, and my hope is that you come out of this feeling more confident about your approach to nutrition and know it is less complicated than when you walked in here into this space today. We're going to cover the 5 main nutritional gaps that affect women and how to correct them. We'll cover the 5 main health concerns impacting women today and how to reverse, prevent, and overcome these conditions. And we'll talk solutions too by covering 5 easy to implement improvements to your health and well-being. And then we'll wrap up with some Q&A with yours truly. Now, I will say this is a secondary recording of this presentation, so there won't be a live Q&A at the end. If you do have specific questions for me after watching this, please outreach me via email or phone, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have. So it's likely no surprise that our nutritional needs shift across a woman's lifespan, from adolescence to our reproductive years to the oh so fun perimenopausal, menopausal, and postmenopausal years, and finally to aging with grace. The nutrients a woman's body needs over time changes. Nutrition goes so much farther than simply fueling our body. When we're younger, the food we eat and the nutrients we consume are the building blocks for our growth and development. Has anybody here heard the saying, what you do before the age of 30 directly impacts how you age over the age of 70? That's what that is speaking to. As we age, should we carry children, the nutrients we consume are the building blocks of a healthy pregnancy and healthy baby. Nutrition plays a role in hormone production and regulation, and not just of female sex hormones, such as your luteinizing hormones, follicular hormones, estrogen, and progesterone, but all of the hormones in the body, of which there are 50 different types. Nutrition impacts the hormones that control bodily processes, such as our metabolism, the internal balance of blood pressure, blood sugar, fluid levels, electrolyte balance, and body temperature, our sleep-wake cycle, our mood, and beyond. Nutrition is also often the first-line intervention for disease prevention. Those that know me know I'm a huge advocate of food as medicine initiative for this very reason. As well as it can be a part of treatment and recovery from disease. Nutrition has the power to clean up our cells, remove damaged cells, and provide nutrients for creation of new cells. Lastly, food has an impact on our quality of life, not just nutrition, but food. The more we care for our bodies with good nutrition and prioritizing healthy lifestyles, the longer, more quality life that we will have. It goes beyond the food that we eat and the nourishment it provides to our bodies. Food serves a purpose in connecting us to our communities, our cultures, and for some, our roots. These connections boost health in many ways we don't consider when thinking about the way nutrition makes an impact on our lives. So let's talk about those 5 main nutrition gaps that I was mentioning. Nutrient deficiencies can have a wide array of associated symptoms, which can make them hard to pinpoint at times. This is an example of why nutrition intake can and should be a first-line intervention in any diagnosis, as sometimes correcting deficiencies causes the symptoms someone was experiencing to subside or go away entirely. Due to restrictive diets that limit our intake, nutrient poor food choices, limited or no nutrition supplementation or absorption issues, many women experience nutrient gaps of vitamins or minerals, or the micronutrients, as I say, in their dietary intake. The RDA, or recommended daily intake for iron, is 18 milligrams a day for women aged 19 to 50 years old. Over the age of 51 or after we're postmenopausal, the RDA decreases to 8 milligrams a day. Those women who are specifically at risk of deficiency are pregnant women, those with heavy menstrual bleeding, frequent blood loss, or frequent blood donors, cancer patients, and those with cardiac or gastrointestinal disorders. Iron deficiency can cause fatigue, pale skin, weakness, dizziness, shortness of breath, and pica, which is a medical condition demonstrating cravings for non-food items such as dirt or ice. To aid in getting enough iron into our diet, we can choose foods such as beef, chicken, and eggs, as well as oysters, or more plant-based foods such as lentils, tofu, peas, figs, dates, broccoli, dark leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, and enriched products such as enriched breads, pastas, and cereals. And a note about enriched products. Many decades ago, the USDA recognized that there were nutrition deficiencies in the American population, and they started enriching foods with vitamins and minerals or fortifying those foods. That means that they're adding those nutrients into the food after creating it, and you'll see this with processed foods. When considering vitamin D, the RDA for women under the age of 70 is 15 micrograms or 600 international units, where over the age of 70, the RDA increases to 20 micrograms or 800 international units a day. Living in the Sunshine State, many women think, oh, I get plenty of sun exposure. I don't need to supplement vitamin D. But that might not be the correct line of thinking. In order to get enough sun exposure to generate adequate vitamin D, we need most of our body exposed, as in a swimsuit, for 30 minutes every day without sunblock, which blocks vitamin D absorption. Many women are conscious about protecting their skin against skin cancer and wrinkles, so they may not be getting the necessary vitamin D due to wearing sunblock. Interestingly, vitamin D acts like a hormone in our bodies and helps with a slew of functions throughout the body, aside from making strong bones and teeth. Deficiency in vitamin D is linked to an inability to fight infections, muscular weakness, fatigue, development of diabetes or certain cancers, multiple sclerosis, depression, heart disease, high blood pressure, and stroke. Though there aren't many foods naturally high in vitamin D, you can sneak some into your diet at an estimated 10% of your daily need by consuming mushrooms, especially if they've been left in the sun to absorb vitamin D, egg yolks from pasture-raised hens with more sun exposure, dark chocolate, and, of course, vitamin D fortified foods. Calcium, a friend of vitamin D, is next. Calcium needs vary based on age, with women aged 19 to 50 needing 1,000 milligrams a day and women over the age of 50 needing 1,200 milligrams a day. Calcium deficiency is really subtle and often happens over time, wherein the body leaches calcium from bones due to low available calcium in the diet, and as a result, women often suffer with brittle bones as they get into advanced age. Symptoms of calcium deficiency can be fatigue, tooth decay, or periodontal disease, muscle pain and spasms, brain fog or confusion, numbness or tingling in the extremities, or abnormal cardiac rhythms. There is good news though, however. We can get a lot of the calcium that we need from the food we eat, such as dairy, of course, milk, yogurt, and cheese, as well as canned salmon, sardines, leafy greens such as kale and collard greens, almonds, and sesame seeds. And some foods like milk and orange juice are fortified with extra calcium as well. Magnesium. This is my personal favorite nutrient, which is such a dietitian thing for me to say, but I often do refer to it as being the miracle mineral for all the versatile roles that it plays in our body, from regulating heart rate and blood pressure to leveling out blood sugar, keeping our bowels healthy, improving sleep, and even acting like brakes on our stress response system. Magnesium does wonders for us. Early symptoms of magnesium deficiency may look like fatigue, loss of appetite, muscle spasms, nausea, difficulty falling or staying asleep, or constipation. Recommended daily intake is 310 to 320 milligrams a day, with oysters, avocados, pumpkin seeds, and chocolate having the highest magnesium content in foods. Folate is a B vitamin that's particularly important to those carrying children. The recommended intake is 600 micrograms daily to support healthy fetal development. Folate deficiency is linked to birth defects in the developing fetus, such as spina bifida or anencephaly. Common symptoms of folate deficiency include fatigue, weakness, and irritability, which, ironically, can also be symptoms in the first trimester of pregnancy. And so, even though we can get some folate in our diet through things like leafy greens and legumes and fortified grains, those who are planning to become pregnant are advised to consider supplementation to avoid any chances of early pregnancy deficiencies. Let's shift gears and talk about the 5 main health concerns impacting women today. From heart disease to breast cancer to depression, women face a variety of health maladies every single day, or they're at high risk for these diagnoses without even knowing it. Understanding these five top health concerns that women face puts us in the driver's seat of understanding our bodies, our health, and ourselves on a deeper level. Osteoporosis impacts roughly 44 million Americans, and women make up roughly 68% of that number of people. Though it's largely preventable, it is the behaviors that develop in childhood, adolescence, and our early years that set the stage for later development of the disease. This is due to the fact that our bodies often build up most of our bone mass by the age of 30. Risk factors for osteoporosis include increased age, small or thin-boned frame, ethnicity with white and Asian women having greater risk, family history, estrogen loss due to menopause, smoking, consuming alcohol, having a sedentary lifestyle, and anorexia. The good news is that it's never too late to make an impact on your bone health by eating calcium-rich foods, getting enough vitamin D, which helps with the absorption of calcium, and participating in strength training, which increases bone strength. Cardiovascular disease is the leading killer of women, with this group of diagnoses being responsible for about 29% of deaths per the CDC. Heart disease encapsulates several conditions such as arrhythmia, valvular disease, coronary artery disease, heart failure, peripheral artery disease, pericardial disease, and others. The danger for women is being underdiagnosed or late diagnosis causing further progression of the disease in some women. The American Heart Association lists risk factors for heart disease, including age, hereditary risk, smoking, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, physical inactivity, obesity, and overweight, as well as diabetes. The good news is that heart disease can be positively impacted and risk reduced with lifestyle interventions such as reducing animal proteins in favor of fiber-rich plant-based foods, reducing inflammatory foods, prioritizing sleep and physical activity while avoiding risky substances such as tobacco and alcohol. PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, is a hormonal condition that impacts the ovaries, affecting about 1 in every 10 women, and is the most common cause of infertility. Many don't know that there are 4 types of PCOS. You have type D or delta, which consists of problems with ovulation, cysts on the ovaries, but the levels of androgens or male hormones are normal. Then you have type C or Charlie, which has increased levels of those male hormones, the androgens, as well as cysts on the ovaries. Type B for Bravo is high levels of androgens as well as issues with ovulation. And then type A is high levels of androgens, problems with ovulation, and cysts on the ovaries. There are also several known drivers of PCOS, such as insulin resistance, inflammation, genetics, environmental factors, and hormonal birth control. Initial symptoms of PCOS include hair loss, excess facial and body hair, oily skin, acne, patches of darker skin around the breasts, arms, or neck, skin tags, abdominal weight gain, ovarian cyst, and mood changes. The good news here is that lifestyle interventions can help, including a blood sugar sensitive diet, regular exercise, focusing on quality sleep, reducing stress, and limiting caffeine intake. Breast cancer is the most common cancer in women and is second only to lung cancer in cancer-related deaths in women. The American Cancer Society identifies risk factors for breast cancer that include increased age, genetics, which accounts for 5 to 10% of diagnosis, family history of breast cancer, previous chest radiation, early onset of menstruation before the age of 12, or late onset of menopause after the age of 55, alcohol consumption, and obesity. The recommendations for risk reduction align with taking charge of your health overall. Things like controlling your weight, exercising, quitting smoking, and participating in preventative screenings for early detection. Depression. The National Institute of Mental Health reports that roughly 12 million women are affected by a depressive episode each year, compared to roughly 6 million men. Sometimes hormonal changes can trigger depression, or a lack of connection in women's lives can contribute to development of depression. To help reduce risk of depression, make sure you're making effort for connection in your personal life and community around you. Identify risk factors for depression include family history of mental health disorders, history of heart problems, serious chronic illness, stressful life events, vitamin deficiency or thyroid disease, and other personal risk factors associated with your own history. Lastly, let's talk about easy to implement nutrition improvements. While many women have come to me for what they may refer to as a diet overhaul, I am actually less of a fan of sweeping all or nothing style change and more of a fan of implementing small, meaningful actions that can compound positively into healthy behavior change over time. As we unpack these 5 easy to implement improvements in your nutrition, I want to encourage you to make a baby step goal around what we've learned together today. As tempting as it may be to implement all 5 changes of these right now in the name of health, studies show us that incremental change is the way to long-term sustainable results. So let's dive in and unpack these improvements together. First and foremost, my friend, fiber. Fiber is a wonder nutrient found in the cell walls of plant foods, fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts and seeds, and whole grains. Fiber has several jobs in our body, with the 3 main being blood sugar regulation, bowel regulation, and packing up excess cholesterol to be eliminated in our waste. The average American gets 12 grams of fiber daily, where the recommendations for women are closer to 28 grams of fiber daily at a minimum. Foods that are rich in fiber are fresh fruits and vegetables and grains, with 1 cup of raspberries having roughly 10 grams of fiber and a cup of beans offering roughly 15 grams of fiber. When trying to implement healthy change with fiber, slow and steady wins the race. I'd recommend getting an average intake over the course of a couple days and slowly increasing by 3 to 5 grams every few days until your goal intake has been achieved. Next, let's talk about protein. I field so many questions about protein, from how much to when to what sources. And the answer is it just kind of depends. It depends on your personal picture of health as well as the goals that you have for yourself. Most individuals following a typical American diet get much more saturated fat and carbohydrates than protein. And by focusing on protein intake at each meal, we can work on restoring balance in our nutrition intake. Again, recommendation to start with a level of awareness around your intake now and aiming to increase to a minimum of 15 grams per meal, working up to 20 grams per meal, and eventually and ultimately 30 grams per meal or more. Too much protein can be constipating, so I always offer the friendly reminder to increase their water intake when increasing protein intake as well. Omega-3 fatty acids are another wonder nutrient that act like a natural anti-inflammatory cell cleaning machine in our bodies. Oftentimes, the American diet is abundant in omega-6 fatty acids, which are quite the opposite. Inflammatory and damaging should be consumed too much. There is a delicate balance here, however, as a diet too high in omega-6 could lead to an increased need for omega-3 to help balance it out. However, omega-6 is found in processed foods such as cookies and crackers, as well as fast foods and convenience foods. The estimation is that we consume roughly 20 omega-6s to 1 omega-3 in America, whereas a healthy ratio is closer to 4 to 1 or even 1 to 1. We can increase our intake of omega-3 fatty acids through fish oils or fatty fish like salmon, sardines, or plant-based foods such as flaxseed, tofu, and walnuts. Hydration is incredibly important, especially given the state that we live in, where it's warm and humid most of the year. Did you know that even 1% hydration can affect brain function? So many of us don't get enough water in our day-to-day lives and unknowingly suffer from it. In fact, here's an easy test. Have you urinated in the last hour? If not, you may not be getting enough water. We should be urinating a light yellow color once an hour with adequate hydration. Darker or less frequent urination indicates dehydration, whereas clear urination can indicate too much water. 80 to 100 ounces a day is a good target, with consideration that other beverages, soups, and water content of produce all contribute to your daily water intake as well. Lastly, sugar. Friend or foe? I think it can be a friend if we find it in the right sources. Stick with me here. You'll notice that on the slide I identified unbound sugars. So let's start there. In simple terms, there's bound sugar, which is sugar molecules that are attached to fiber molecules, such as those found in nature's carbs, like fruit and starchy vegetables. And then there's unbound sugar, sugar molecules that have been stripped of fiber and typically most other nutrients, such as those sugars found in sweet treats, sugary beverages, and sweeteners added to processed foods. The way our body digests bound versus unbound sugar is wildly different. Unbound sugar causes a surge of quick energy that's seen with a big rise in blood sugar levels and a bigger chance those calories are stored as fat. This type of sugar is also inflammatory in the body. Unbound sugar, however, contains nutrients like fiber that slow the blood glucose surge and make the energy from that food more long lasting. So, when we talk about reducing sugar, we want to reduce the unbound sugars, the sweet treats, the confections, the juices, sweetened beverages, and even those sneaky sugars that are added into processed foods like peanut butter and tomato sauce. That wraps up our time together today. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to tune into this content, and I hope that this webinar has given you some good, solid direction of where to go to take control of your health, to understand the way that your nutrition impacts your disease states or prevention of